Welcome. My name is Joe Levitt. I'm a former CIFSAN Center Director, and I'm delighted to be serving as today's webinar host on behalf of the FDA Alumni Association, where I also serve on the board as Strategic Director. This past spring, as events unfolded, as we're all aware, we at FDAAA were truly shocked and truly heartbroken. So we wanted to do something. We decided to focus on supporting those like yourselves who were subject to the unexpected rifts, furloughs, voluntary retirements, and the like. We wanted you to know that we truly valued your service and that we wanted to support you in any way that we reasonably can in this new and very challenging transition. We started with some networking happy hours and then moved to a series of webinars and mentoring programs. Shout out to Elisa Bernstein, who is our Tiger team lead, overseeing all these activities. We must be doing something right, as our membership ranks have more than doubled since January. Much of our work to date has been generally focused, such as what types of job opportunities are out there in the various FDA-related specialties. Today, we start our pivot to more specific, concrete information that you can take back and use directly. And we are starting by focusing on the all-important resume. Hence the name of our title, Roast Your Resume. This session will be given by Emily Warden, who is a certified career coach. Emily has helped literally thousands of job seekers and is the #1 career coach on LinkedIn. In this information-packed hour, she will share resume best practices and, importantly, tell you how to translate your government experience into a resume for the private sector. Get ready to take notes. I'll tell you, I've followed Emily on LinkedIn for some time. I found her advice to be both practical and empathetic to your needs. I've also spoken to her a few times and find her to be engaging and incredibly down to earth. Before I turn it over to Emily, let me make 2 points. Number one, this session is being recorded and it will be available on our website to FDAAA members. We will also try to save some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please enter them in the chat box and be patient for us to try to get to them. With that, Emily, please take it away.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for that introduction. And I want to say thank you to you all for being here. I'm so proud of you for being here and showing up. I know this is difficult and your time is precious, and I'm going to do my best to make this a jam-packed hour for you, filled with practical, actionable advice that you can take with you. As Joe mentioned, I'm a certified professional career coach. I've been doing this for 9 years, and I've helped thousands of people at this point. I'm very much all about, I don't do platitudes, I don't do generalities. I'm about specific, actionable advice that you can take and start incorporating today. So get ready to take notes. I'm going to make the best of maximizing this time for you. And as Joe just said, I am very happy to be with you today, but I am very sorry it's under these circumstances. I greatly and deeply admire and respect the work you all were doing, your department, your federal comrades, your federal, also your other colleagues and other federal departments. I've been working with a lot of people who were in the public sector and they're trying to go into the private sector now. And I just think it's terrible the way this all happened and the way you were treated, and you're doing such important work. And I wish you were there doing that work. So hopefully the tips you learned today can help you get back to doing that work that you love and that really important work. That's what we're going to be doing today. But I just want to say I'm sorry. Now, a little bit real quick about my background. Like I said, I have been doing this for 9 years. I've been a career coach, and my specialty is working with mid-career professionals, usually sometimes in their 30s, but usually people in their 40s and 50s who are looking to pivot into something new, either a new job, a new industry, something entirely different. That's why my business is called Next Act Careers, because that's where I typically help people. So when Joe approached me and said, can we talk with people who are looking to make a transition? I said, let's do this. That's one of the things that I love to do. So I know many of you have been in the department for years and years and years. You expected to retire there. You've been at one area for a while. So if you haven't been on this job market recently, I just want to give you a little kind of brief overview of where we are. Basically this, um, pulling back a little bit, 2018, 2019 job market's doing great. 2020, COVID happens. We all know what was going on with that. Once companies started hiring again, demand was huge, surging through the roof. That's when we had the great resignation. They're handing out jobs like candy. Oh my God, my job was so easy then. I loved it. Everyone's getting raises, everyone's getting jobs, they're getting hired left and right. This is 2020, 2021, 2022. Then around 2023, companies went, oh gosh, we overhired. The world's opening up again. Demand is receding. Companies realize they overhired. Facebook at the time, or maybe they were Meta at the time, famously said, we are going lean. They were the first tech company to say we are going lean and we're getting rid of roles. And then all these other tech companies followed. So starting in 2023, things started to get difficult. But then we've always had offshoring that started kicking up more, but then AI came into the picture. So since then, in 2023, companies are going, ooh, how many jobs can we replace with AI? What can we offshore? How can we cut more? How can we get even leaner? How can we save even more costs? So we have AI going on, we have offshoring going on, we have all of this instability that's making companies very wary about where to invest their money, how much should they invest. So as a result, we're seeing more job seekers competing for less openings, but as well, one of the trends that I'm seeing, and if you've been on this market for a while, you might have been noticing this as well. There's this new trend of we're going to pay people less and we're also going to hire them on a contract basis, contract to hire. Because again, with all this instability, companies can't predict what's going to happen in the next quarter, the quarter after that. So they get a little nervous about hiring people full time. So if you're starting to notice that in your applications and you're seeing that there's a lot of more contract work or the salary is lower than expected, that's just what's happening in this market. I also wanted to mention scammers are going through the roof. So I could talk to you guys about 3 hours about how to protect yourselves from scammers, but the main things to pay attention to, particularly if you turn on open to work on LinkedIn, for example, you turn on the green banner, which I love. I love the green banner, but it opens you up to scammers. My rule of thumb that I tell to my clients is just assume every message that you get is a scammer until proven otherwise. So if you are going out and applying and suddenly you're getting people reaching out to you or in your LinkedIn messages, first of all, if they're telling you to reach out to them with a Gmail address, that's definitely a scammer. If they say you have an impressive background and we want you to get right away into interviewing, you want to be a little bit suspicious of that. Always check their profile. How long have they been open? How many connections do they have? What's their post history? What's their comment history? You just really want to be very wary of anyone who's contacting you because the scammers are getting so sneaky nowadays. Another trend that I'm seeing is a rise in AI interviews or them asking you to do projects before you apply or as part of your application process. So they're saying, before you talk to a human, we're going to have you talk to this computer first, or we're going to have you do this project. It's horrible. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but it's what's happening in this market. So I just want you guys to get that kind of overall understanding of what's going on so you can protect yourself a little bit better. And also, just to let you know, I work with so many talented job seekers that in any other market, they would get snapped up like this. They would get snapped up in a second, and they are struggling in this market. I don't want to say that to depress you. I want you to understand that if you are struggling and you're like, I can't even get jobs I'm overqualified for or I'm highly qualified for, that's the nature of this market. This market is absolutely brutal. Like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I've never seen a market like this in my 9 years. I have career coaching friends who were career coaching back during the recession of 08, 09, and they say this is worse. So again, don't want to depress you. I just want you to understand what's going on. But with that said, let's give you some tips to kind of help you stand out a little bit. Now, as a career coach, I have a 5-step process that I take my clients through when they're searching for work. And job search is the last step. So let's just kind of, if you're struggling in the job search a little bit, I want to point out the steps to you because maybe there's some areas you could focus on a little bit better. Step number one, what do you want? What job titles do you want? What industries do you want? What companies interest you? Having that clarity is so important because you want to make sure you enjoy where you are in your next role. Step two, this is the absolutely critical step, and I'm going to be touching a little bit on this with you today. Who are your target employers and what do they want? I say this all the time. And if any of you guys follow me on LinkedIn, you're going to hear me say it a lot. The job search is not about you, it's about what you can do for them. So it's not, hi, I'm Emily, here's my background. It's, hi, I'm Emily, here's what you need, and here's how I can deliver it for you. And don't worry, I'm going to teach you guys how to figure that out. But the main point is who are your target employers? What are their pain points? Why are they trying to hire someone for their role? What are they trying to solve with this person in this role? That's what you want to focus on. And you're going to do that with a keywords exercise. And we're going to talk about that. But basically, once you know what you want and know what they want, that all comes together in step 3, your personal brand. And what I mean about your personal brand is how you talk about your career story in a way that's appealing to your target employers and how that's reflected in your resume and in your LinkedIn. We're also going to be talking about your resume today. So we're going to be touching a little bit on step 2 and a little bit of step 3 today. Now, once your resume and LinkedIn is looking all nice and gorgeous, what I like to say is the job search is not a numbers game, it's a referral and a recruiter game. So I encourage my clients to focus more on their network and talking with recruiters than doing cold applications. Like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I used to just have my clients focus on this step and that's it. Because this market is so bonkers, we'll say, I am also having my clients focus on the job search step, which is applying and reaching out to cold people at the companies and things like that. But notice, you guys, in these steps, that job search is the last step. So most people, when they're laid off, they go, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. I'm going to update my resume. I'm going to start applying. But there's a couple things you want to do before that, before you get to the application stage. So I just wanted you guys to kind of get that overall picture. And again, we're going to be diving into steps 2 and 3. So first today, I'm going to talk to you guys about the keywords exercise. Then I'm going to be talking to you about resumes. Now,
Okay.
oh, go ahead, Joe.
That's okay. Thank you, Emily. I'm just going to interject myself a couple of times. Let Emily inhale, exhale. I've heard this now 2-3 times, and each time maybe I'm more impressed with the main points that the job application is your last step, not your first step, and that it's not about you. It's not about how great Joe Levitt is, though of course he is. It's about what you can do for them. What do they need? This is a buyer's market. It's not a seller's market. It's a buyer's market. What are they buying, and how are you fit what they need to buy? That's what you need to think about, and that's a different approach that I know I always did when I was job hunting. I thought my personal brand was my gloriousness.
Yeah.
As opposed to my brand is I have what you need. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Emily's going to now go through keywords and resume tips and a bunch of stuff.
Yes. And to follow up with what you said, Joe, in a previous life, I was a business coach before I became a career coach. And I helped startups raise millions of dollars of funding and get on Shark Tank and sell their businesses. And when I got into career coaching, oh, I teach at Boston University. I teach career coaching at career development at Boston University, which is what got me into career coaching back in 2016. And I saw a ton of parallels between being a business owner and being a job seeker, in that you both have target customers. So as a job seeker, you have target customers. Those are the places where you want to work. And those target customers have pain points. They have problems, wants, and needs that they're trying to solve. So it's your job to say, I got you, I understand your pain points, and here's how I'm going to help. So whether you're selling a product or as a job seeker, you are the product. You're selling yourself. So Joe is right. It's a complete mental shift. It's not about me, it's about them and what they need. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how to discover that. But with that said, just a few quick resume tips, because I know if you have been in this market and a little bit of humor to, levitate things a little bit, but shout out to MacGyver. I wonder what his resume would be like. But you all have likely been in your role for a long time, a little bit confused about the difference between resume versus CV. So a CV is all the details, everything you've done, all of your papers, all of your reports, all of your rewards. It's academic work, all of that. Yes, that is fantastic if you're going into an academic position, or again, if you were staying more in the public sector. But in the private sector, that is the opposite of what you want. A resume is not a CV. A resume is short. What I like to call it is it's a marketing document. All your resumes, the only purpose of your resume is to get you an interview. It's to get the person reading it to get intrigued enough to say, I have to call this person in. So it's not a career history. No. As you're going to see me talk about, the key word is relevant. If it's relevant to what you're applying to, you keep it. If it's not relevant, you remove it. But we'll talk about that. CVs, they can go many, 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 many pages. With resumes, you're okay to go over 1 page. 2 pages is the norm. 3 pages if you have to do it. I got to be honest with you, most people aren't going to read a third page. We're really going to try to keep it into 2 pages if we can. The other thing, you want to keep your resume really simple and easy to scan. So that means 1 column, not 2 columns. 1 column, no graphs, no charts. There are these things called applicant tracking systems, which I'll talk about a little bit, but essentially companies use these applicant tracking systems, they're digital filing cabinets, to store applications. And they've got a little bot that is scanning and reading resumes. The bots cannot scan 2 column resumes because it reads left to right. So you want it to make it easier for the ATS to scan, but also for a human to scan. 1 column, no graphs, no charts, no tables, boring. We want boring. We want simple, clean, easy to read. That is our goal for resumes. And as I said, you're going to hear me talking about this a lot. It's a marketing document. We're not overwhelming them with everything we've ever done. We're only sharing the stuff that's relevant to that particular job that we're applying for. Now, the strategy I use with my clients is, let's say you're targeting 3 different job titles. I call them buckets. You're targeting 3 different, but let's say you're targeting operations and project management and change management, for example. What I have my clients do is then they have 3 different resumes. They have an operations, a change management, and a whatever I said, project management resume. Because each resume, you're highlighting different things. It's still your same background, but you're going to talk about project management in a different way than you're talking about operations. So that's kind of one of the rules that I work with my clients, but I'm going to talk to you guys about how to do that today. So I just wanted to introduce a couple resume rules. And because we're talking about branding, as that's my step 3, your personal brand, just to reiterate, it's not about you. It's about their pain points. It's about what they want. So oftentimes I talk with job seekers who go, oh, I can do anything. I can fit in anywhere. You need this, you need this, you need this. I can do it all. Not in this market. In this market, I call it the what box do you fit in market. Someone needs to look at your resume or your LinkedIn profile and go, got it, your operations, your project management, your HR, your communications. They need to know what box they can put you in. So I'll talk about generalists about how to handle that, but we really want to know, we look at you and your personal brand is very clear about what you're about. The other main thing about your personal brand in this particular market, this has always been true, but this market more than anything else, this market is very impact, results, outcomes driven. It's not about tasks and responsibilities. So if your resume is just filled with, I did this and this and this, it's generic. It doesn't tell me anything. It's not impactful. What we want to hear, when I say we, I think recruiters and hiring managers, what we want to hear is, what impact did you have? What results did you bring? What outcomes did you have? And the thing is about that is numbers. Numbers are absolutely critical in your resume. Now, I have a resource on how to find numbers. If you don't work with numbers, you're welcome to email me. I'm happy to send that to you. I'm going to share with you guys my email in a moment. But the thing is about numbers, you have to have numbers on your resume. And if you're thinking, Emily, I didn't work with numbers, numbers don't just have to be about your impact and results. Numbers can be used to provide context. So what I like to do with my clients is, you look at a bullet point, like your task, and you ask how many, how much, how long, how often. How many meetings did I lead? How many reports did I do? How many people reported to me? How often did I do this task? The example I like to give is, you don't just say, I answered phone calls at the front desk. You say, I answered 100 phone calls for 25 employees. Those count as numbers. That's just giving context to the role. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be in a resume nowadays. Yeah, if you can say we saved 30% in our budget, or we saved 10% in efficiency, amazing, even better. But not everyone can do that. We still need numbers for context. So before I get into the keywords exercise, and Joe will help me with that transition, just wanted to say, screenshot this, write this down, make note. Everything that I share with you guys today, I'm very happy to message with you and email you and send you these resources. You're going to want them. So take note of my email address here. It's Emily@Emily Worden. You are welcome to send me an email. I'm happy to share with you everything that we have today. You can also, I recommend following me on LinkedIn just because every day I post really actionable, specific, very clear job search tips. I'm also a big fan of mental health and mental awareness and taking time off. So you'll see me posting about that as well. But I just wanted to include my LinkedIn banner just to give you an idea of what to look for when you see it. So that's my contact information. I'm going to get off this presentation and into the keywords exercise. But before I do that, Joe, is there anything you would like to add before we go into the transition?
Thank you, Emily. I just wanted to reinforce a couple of points because I'm mentoring a number of people who are going through this process now. And I think in government numbers, we didn't think much about numbers.
No.
So I think people have to spend a little time thinking about how can I create numbers, because we're so into you can't use 100 if it's 103. You know,
Yeah.
we have to think a little more about numbers and impacts. That's not necessarily how we've been taught to think. And also how to narrow having multiple resumes. If we're a jack of all trades, we
Mhm.
might need 3 or 5 different things. So those are good points to think about just from my own government experience. But now let's get into keywords.
And I'm glad if I could bounce off that real quick, the 100 versus the 103. The other thing I like to tell people, no one's going to audit you guys. Rough estimates are okay. Remember, resumes are marketing document. You're just trying to get the interview. I'm not telling you to lie, but if you're like agonizing over, oh, is it 97% or 98%? Who cares? Estimate. It's fine. They just want to show what you were doing to make some sort of impact. That's all.
Right.
Okay.
And as we go through, Emily, let me just remind people that you're welcome to put a Q&A, a question in the chat box
Yep.
that we'll try to get to at the end. Okay, take it away. I'm back on no video.
Okay. And thanks for shouting that out. And again, if you email me, I wrote an article about how to find numbers for your resume, even if you don't work with numbers. So I'm very happy to share that with you. Not every bullet point has to have some numbers, but you got to have some numbers in your resume. So, okay. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. So with that said, I'm going to introduce you guys to the keywords exercise. This is the exercise that whenever I work with a new client on their resume or LinkedIn, this is non-negotiable. This is the first step homework that we do. And the reason it's important is you want to be able to learn especially for people in your position, because you want to learn the language. When I mean your position, going from the public to the private sector, you need to learn the language because the language you all use is completely different than what's in the private sector. So we need to understand how to translate your experience into the private sector. So I do this for everyone anyway, but it is especially important for people in your position. Also, anyone who's looking to pivot, this is also very important because we need to use their language. So here's the first step, you guys. The first step is whatever job titles you're targeting, you're going to find 2 to 3 job descriptions per job title. You're not necessarily applying to these roles. So I don't care if they're in your location or not. They just sound interesting. But most importantly, there's lots of content in that job description. We want job descriptions that are very dense because we're going to be pulling from these job descriptions. So again, you're not necessarily applying, but they're nice and dense. Now, what I have my clients do, and the reason I pulled up this example is to show you guys, this was a client of mine who was targeting chief of staff, project management, operations, and change management roles. So you'll see she pulled 3 chief of staff, 2 project management, and 2 of the other ones. This is exactly what you want to do. You want to take those job descriptions, put them into a document, copy and paste them into a document per, I call them bucket. I call the job titles buckets. So per bucket, she's got 4 buckets here. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go through these job descriptions and you're going to highlight the key words and the key phrases. And I'll talk about what to look for in a moment. What I want you to see is a good 50% of the document is highlighted, and that's good. That's what we're aiming for. This was something that my client had done that I'm showing you guys. Okay. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you take these highlighted keywords and key phrases and you put them into a new document, and I'll be happy to share this template with you guys. You put them into a new document and you start putting those highlighted keywords and key phrases into categories. Okay, so this is where I'm going to talk about what to look for. Now, here's what's important. Per bucket, per job title, you have 4 categories. So you see here the client has chief of staff, 4 categories, project management, 4 categories, operations, 4 categories. That's exactly how you want to set yours up as well. Okay. Now, these are the categories that you're looking for. This is number one, hands down, you guys, the most important category, and it's also the most subtle. So I'm going to walk you through how to find it. This is what I call the pain points category. Because as Joe and I both mentioned, it's all about their pain points, problems, wants, needs that they're trying to solve. That's what you want to focus on. The way you find it is in most job descriptions, you'll start noticing this cadence where the first part of the sentence will talk about your task. This is what you're doing. But the second part of the sentence will do this, what I call in order to language. You're doing this task in order to achieve this goal. The in order to achieve this goal, which is usually the second half of the sentence, that's what you want in this category. Okay. And because we're going to take this exact language and plug it into your resume later. So this category is definitely the most important, but the most subtle. So you'll start noticing this cadence. As you see here, the first half of all of these sentences is the task, and then the second half is the in order to. You don't need to keep this part if you don't want to in this category, but I kept it just to show people how it's connected. So that's category number 1, the most important. Category number 2, pretty straightforward, tasks and responsibilities. What are you going to do each day on the job? Category number 3, hard skills, soft skills, years of experience. Make note of anything that here. Fourth category, we don't do much with, but sometimes it's nice to have and see. If you see them say that you're a good team leader or a good communicator, anything like that, you can pop into this category. Again, we don't do much with it, but sometimes it's nice to have. I have this 5th category that some of my clients like. If you're particularly noticing there's certain company culture or values you're going after, but you don't really do much with this category either. It's really the first 3 that are the most important. Okay, so I kind of have them in order of appearance, in order of importance. Now you're probably thinking at this point, Emily, that is a ton of work. Yes, it is. It's going to take you a couple hours to do, but it's foundational, absolutely pivotal, critical work. And it's going to make writing your resume and LinkedIn so much easier. I've done this with hundreds of clients at this point. Every client's like, Emily, I really hated you for giving this to me, but I understand why you did. And it actually was a really empowering exercise because now I see how much I can actually do. Like I can do a lot of this stuff, and this is great. You might also be thinking, Emily, can I use ChatGPT for this? No. You can use it at the end, and I'll explain that in a moment. But ChatGPT is really good at summarizing. We don't want summarizing. We want the exact words and phrases. So you going through manually is going to give you better results. Now, I do have clients who will then take this document here and plug this into ChatGPT and say, now organize this for me. Tell me, what are the top most appearing categories, top most appearing words, and how often do they appear? And give me some examples. You can absolutely do that once this document is done. But please don't rely on ChatGPT from the beginning because it's not going to give you as good results. I've seen clients who've done it both ways, and doing it manually, you definitely get better results. So that's the keywords exercise, okay? This is critical. You're going to be referring to this all the time when you do your resume in LinkedIn. So Joe, I am done talking about the keywords. Before I jump into my resume template, is there anything you wanted to add on this part?
Just to reinforce, this, if I was just watching this, it would feel like a lot is hitting me. But as you all already know, looking for a job is hard work. And you can either spend a lot of time spinning wheels,
yeah,
or more time investing in a tried and true process. I can't remember how many times when I was at the FDA, I would tell companies, get it right the first time and your life is going to be a lot better. Well, get it right the first time was code for do it thoroughly. This is not the time for shortcuts.
That's right.
And that's what I take away from this. So it's going to be laborious. I would hate it if somebody told me I had to go do this. But it's an investment in time to save you time and energy later and agony later. So thank you for that, Emily. I'll turn it back to you.
You nailed it. Measure twice and cut once, right?
Right.
You guys, I can't emphasize this is foundational. This is step 2 of my 5-step process. This is absolutely foundational and critical. Please do not skip it. Please do not half-ass it. Really put your time in it. And I'm telling you, like I said, I've seen this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. You're going to be so great. The more effort you put in, the better the payout's going to be. All the time when I do resumes and LinkedIn's with my clients, I'll go, we're stuck on something. I'll go, what does your keywords say? Let's go back to your keywords exercise. It becomes your guiding beacon of your job search. So thank you, Joe, for saying that. Okay. So without further ado, let me share with you guys the resume template. Now, anyone who emails me and asks for these resources, I'm very happy to share this resume template with you. I have a basic template that you can follow, but then I also have a much more detailed template that has all of these notes that you'll see, all of this guidance. So what I find is this is a little overwhelming for people. So what I want to do is I want to show you the basic resume first, and then I can show you how that second document plugs into it. Now, here's the deal, you guys. As I mentioned earlier, for each job title that you're targeting, you're going to have a different resume. That doesn't mean every time you apply, you have a different resume. It means your operations, your project management, your change management, you've got a resume for each one of those. The goal being, just like keywords, it's more work up front, but it's less work down the road when you're applying. And in this market, being one of the first to apply, if you're cold applying and you don't have a referral or you don't have a recruiter, you don't have anyone on the inside, advocating for you, and you're just straight up cold applying, being one of the first to apply really makes a difference in this market. So if you up ahead already have that resume that's customized for that kind of job title, then that helps you because you're not spending all this time customizing like one master resume. As one of my clients called it, her Frankenstein resume, that she had this one master resume that she kept trying to change for every job she was applying to. And she's like, it turned into such a mess. So just like the keywords exercise, a different resume per job title is more work up front, but it's going to make applications so much easier. With that said, there are a handful of spots that I recommend you customize for each job that you apply to, but it's very minor, and I'm going to show you that. Okay. So right off the bat, let's talk about this header. You are going to have your phone number. You're only going to have city and state. You're not going to have your full address. Your phone number. I recommend to my clients they have a job search specific email, that they do not put their personal email up for a couple reasons. It protects your privacy. It protects you from scammers because, as I mentioned, scammers are insidious nowadays and they're everywhere. So you want to protect your personal email from scammers. But also it keeps all of your job search stuff in one spot. So all of the emails, everything coming in, it's just in one email. It's not mucking up your personal email address. What I typically recommend to my clients is they do name plus job title at gmail.com. And the reason I like Gmail is because I will have my clients set up Google Alerts for their job search. That's a whole other thing, but Gmail is just nice and easy to do. So if you're already deep into it and you're like, my personal email is already out there, I don't feel like doing that, that's fine. You don't. I just recommend it. Okay. And then also your LinkedIn URL. You want to have a link to that right there. You can turn it into a URL or just have it blank, up to you. Now, this is the first spot that I recommend you customize for each job that you apply to. This is job title plus industry. Okay. Now, here's the thing with it. I just had a client right before we met talking about this, and she's a former CDC employee. So she's struggling with everything that we're talking about today. And she was doing policy at CDC, and she's looking at like a community management role. And she's like, okay, well, then what do I have up here? And I said, you have community management because you're applying for a community management role. And she's like, oh, okay, so it's not the title that I previously held. No, the goal with this is to customize it to that job you're applying for. Because if a hiring manager or a recruiter is scanning your resume for 10 seconds, right off the bat, they're like, I'm looking for a community manager in, health tech. And you write here, community manager, health tech, they're like, right off the bat, this is someone we're looking for. So this is customized for each job that you apply to, job title that you're applying for, and industry that you're applying for. Okay. Now, for the professional summary, we really want to keep it this short, guys. No one's going to read more than this. We get eye fatigue when we see big blocks of text. Here's the format that you're going to do. For the first sentence here, I have a very specific template for this, okay? The very specific template is job title, okay, with X years of experience, doing this kind of work for these kind of companies. Now, don't worry. If you're like, Emily, what was that? What did you say? Don't worry. I have it right here in this document. Job title with X years experience doing this kind of work for these kind of companies. Now, you're thinking, I've been at the same company for 20 years. Okay, that's fine. Then you say for governmental organizations. Done. Now, what I want you to see is this. Doing this kind of work. Guess what, you guys? That's stolen right from your keywords. We're already using your keywords. So you just go right over here. I can either steal right here from the outcomes category or from the tasks. It's what do they want? That's what you say you've been doing. Okay. So we're pulling right from the keywords. That's your opening sentence. By the way, you can use the same opening sentence for the about section of your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Because it's basically summarizing your career in one sentence. Now, the second sentence is the second spot that I recommend you customize for each job that you apply to. The second sentence is just proven expertise in keyword, keyword, keyword from the job description. That's it. What are those skills that they're looking for? You pop it right in here. Now, ideally, these are more hard skills, tech skills, that kind of jazz. You're not going to say cross-functional collaboration. You're not going to say creative problem solving. Okay. That's just too generic. So ideally you're pulling stuff from the job description that think like a recruiter or a hiring manager. Like we need someone who has this kind of software. That's what you want to put here, ideally. And again, in this template that you guys are getting, I have all of these notes here where I say, choose for your sentence number 2, choose one of these phrases. And I say here, customize it for each job that you apply to. So you're going to, if this template, what I'm saying here feels overwhelming, go back and watch the recording, but it's also all right here in this document. Okay. Now that's it. That's your professional summary. Short and sweet, 2 sentences. You'll notice I have this here. This is the third spot that I recommend you customize your resume for each job that you apply to. So as we covered, this was the first spot. This is the second spot. As you guys are seeing, very minor customization here. The third spot is optional. You don't have to do it. But what you say is looking to do, and you basically describe the job you're applying for. So if you're applying for, I'm just thinking of the client I just met, my CDC client. She's looking to a public policy at health group. So it would be looking to join a growing startup, growing public policy startup to help with the expansion of their health initiatives. You essentially describe the job you're applying for. Because again, this is a marketing document. They are your target customers. They are reading it and going, oh my gosh, this person is looking to do exactly what I'm looking for them to do. How great is that? You don't have to have this sentence. You certainly don't, but I wanted to throw it out there as a third option, as an option. But other than that, that's your professional summary, nice and short and sweet. We no longer have objective statements. That was old school, looking to join, This is kind of like that objective statement, but you don't have that full paragraph of your career history and what you're looking to do next. This is a very truncated version. Okay. Now, y'all are probably looking ahead and have already looked at this and gone, I don't have that on my resume. What is this? What does this mean? This is, I'd say in the last year or two, become a resume best practice. Particularly if you have something in your career that was older and from quite a few years back, but it's relevant to the job you're applying for and you really want to call attention to it, this is a perfect use of this section. But your career highlights section is essentially you're choosing 3 to 5 bullet points that are your most impressive outcomes, achievements, results. But here's the key, guys, relevant. It has to be relevant to the job you're applying for. So if you have an operations and a project management resume, these bullet points are going to be different. You're going to highlight your successes in operations and your successes with project management. Okay. So it's not what you've done over your career that you're the most proud of. It's what you've done out of your career that you're the most proud of. That's the most relevant to this particular bucket title. Okay. Now, what you'll notice here, it's nice and short, very, very short. What I have here is result, got this result by doing this action. Not everyone is going to have it that clean, particularly if you're really struggling with those result numbers. In which case you can just highlight your most impressive things, the awards you got, the amount of grants you received, the size of the team that you led, anything like that completely counts here. The last thing I want to mention about this is you notice I have here keyword. I have some clients, particularly clients who are pivoting. So for those of you who are pivoting, which is most of you, I highly recommend this. You kick off the bullet point with a keyword from here, particularly from the tasks, skills section. So if you see that they're in the skills section here, that leadership is really important. You're seeing leadership again and again and again, because maybe you're going for a management role or anything like that. Well, then I would do is I would kick off a bullet point with the keyword leadership and then a bullet point that illustrates it. So again, resumes are not the time to be subtle. Resumes, you don't want to make them connect the dots. You want to bang them over the head with it. So it's like, this is banging them over the head with it. This is banging them over the head with it, right? Adding the keyword right here, banging their head over it. You're looking for someone who has leadership skills? Hi, I'm shouting it out for you right here. Okay. So we're using all of this to just grab their attention, draw them in and go, oh my gosh, this person has exactly what we're looking for. That's what the goal is for here. Now, for the skills section, you can do this one of two ways. You can list it like this, or you can list it by category. Like you could list software skills and a couple of things that you've done, leadership skills or professional skills. You can put it either or. The key is here with guys, this is entirely driven by your keywords exercise here. Okay. Plus whatever's in the job description. This is the fourth and final spot that I recommend you customize for each job that you apply to. You just want to double check, here are the skills in the job description. Do I have them listed in my resume? Okay. So that's the top half of the resume. That's the part where we want to draw them in, grab their attention. Hi, I've got those skills that you're looking for. Let's talk about how to handle the professional experience section. Now, there's two different ways that I'm going to show you guys here, because most of you I know have been at your roles for a long time. So I'm going to address how to talk about that. But for those of you who maybe have only been there 4 or 5 years and you had other roles before that, for those of you in that position, this is how you're going to handle it. What I recommend that you do is you start with the job title. Now, here's the thing about job titles, guys. Oftentimes, the job titles in the public sector do not match the job titles in the private sector. It is absolutely critical that you use the job titles from the private sector. So my public sector clients who are transitioning into private sector, I will go through with them and say, what is the private sector equivalent of this? And we need to keep it very general, very searchable. So I've had some clients plug it into ChatGPT and say, here is my job title at the CDC or FDA or, wherever my clients are coming from. Give me a private sector version of that. And you're going to go, Emily, I can change my job titles. Yeah, you can change your job titles. That's completely fair. Here's a couple different ways you can do it. You can either just straight up change your job title outright. Like I've noticed a lot of public sector job titles are long and involved, but at the end of the day, you were doing project management. You could just change the job title outright and say project manager. Okay. That's going to be much more effective than a long convoluted title that no one's going to understand. That's option number one. Change the job title outright. Option number two is to do the job title like project manager / your actual job title. So you have your ideal simplified private sector job title / your real job title. Okay. If you are deeply uncomfortable with changing your job title, then option number 3 is for you, where you have your real job title / the ideal job title, the private sector job title. So a couple different options, the way you can do it. I had a client, my CDC client this morning, she's applying to a policy job. She was doing policy and she's applying to like a community management role. So she just took her title and did policy and people to make it sound a little bit more community management-y. So you can just even change the title a little bit, but I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to the equivalent of private sector titles that are extremely simplified. Because if a recruiter or hiring manager is scanning your resume, they want to see that you've held that job title consistently, and they want to see it's a job title that they're actually hiring for. Okay, so you can have a little bit of fun with that. You can change that around a little bit. So that's your job title. You're gonna have the name of the company, the location, and then the month and the year. Okay. Then what I recommend people do is you do one sentence about the organization and then one sentence about your basic role and responsibilities. This provides context. You want context to the role. That's why you need this. Then for the bullet points, we have, I got this result by doing this action in order to achieve this goal. Guess what? In order to achieve this goal, stolen right from this category. Literally copy and paste from this category and put it right into your resume. So it's result by action in order to achieve this goal. And again, I have that right down here for you guys. Okay. So you're going to be, if you email me and you want a copy of this, you're going to be getting a copy of this. And I have that template right there. So, and again, even if you don't have a clean number like this, just saying led a team of 10, secured this much in funding, led this many meetings, got this many grants, anything like that. That's what you want to kick it off with, because this market is very numbers metric driven. So we like to kick it off with that number. Okay. Now, for those of you, and then by the way, education, certifications, volunteer experience, all of that goes on the bottom. Now, before I sign off from resumes, I just want to show you, for those of you who have been at the FDA for 20 years, you're like, how do I talk about my experience like that? I'll show you. So I have here, use this format if you've had long tenure at a company. This is how you handle it. So rather than we'd have here professional experience, here's the company, basically rather than having what I just covered here, here's one company, here's another company, they're separate entries. For you all, if you've been at FDA for 20 years, the way you're going to handle it is you're going to say, let me just scroll down to it here. You're going to say FDA, city and state, your overall number of years that you were there, month and date, or month plus year. And then you have one sentence about the organization. Now, obviously, everyone knows FDA, so you don't really have to say much about that. You don't even have to add that sentence if you don't want to. But you do want to have a sentence that describes your career progression throughout the company. Promoted this many times, started here, moved up to this, ended up leading this team, whatever. Just a real quick so they understand your history at the company, okay? So that's basically like a header. Then underneath, you have your most recent job title plus the dates. Now, what I like to say is you have one sentence about your responsibilities so that the rest of the bullet points are focused on your outcomes, achievements, results, and impact. If you don't have a lot of outcomes, achievements, results, and impact, this could be a bullet point instead. You don't need the one sentence. You could just make that one of your bullet points, and that's fine. But I just kind of wanted to show you best practices and options. Okay. So for those of you, that's for those of you who've had a long tenure at the company. This is how your professional experience is going to look. For those of you who have now resume rules is you typically don't list a resume that a job that's more than 10 to 15 years old. So, but if you have something from back in the day that's really relevant, like my CDC client I was meeting with this morning was an EMT back in the day, and one of the roles she was applying for that was actually relevant. You have this option of having an additional experience section of your resume where you are very briefly naming the job title and the company. Dates if you want, you don't have to have the dates, but you are very kind of briefly mentioning that just so that EMT is listed there. But what I told my client is, hey, EMT was really long ago. No one's going to get to the bottom of your resume and see that. If being an EMT is really important to this role, put it in the career highlights section. And now it's right at the top. Okay. So that's some basic kind of strategy. Now, the very last thing I promise, then we'll get to questions. The very last thing I wanted to mention about professional experience. As I mentioned earlier, you can kick off bullet points with a keyword. This is especially important for those of you who are pivoting. So this is a client of mine who was pivoting into compliance. She was in like educational enrollment. So what we did was this in her experience section, just like I mentioned, you can do at the top in the career highlights section, you can also do it in the experience section where you kick off a bullet point with a keyword. So she was trying to pivot into compliance. She did her keywords exercise. She saw that these were the top keywords for compliance. So she's like, okay, here's the top keyword. Now I'm going to write a bullet point that reflects that keyword. This is going back to it's not about you, it's about what you can do for them. It's not your resume is not a career history novel. It's only what's relevant to that job you're applying for. That's the only thing we're keeping. The goal being each experience section has no more than 7 bullet points. 7 is a lot, ideally around 5 or less. Okay. So I know that was a ton of information. Your head is probably spinning. Don't worry. I'm happy to share all of these resources with you. With that said, Joe, I'm going to take that back over to you. I'm going to keep the screen open in case any questions come up about that. But Joe, anything else to add before we get to questions?
No, but I've got a bunch of questions. What happened was the chat was not working, but the Q&A is.
Oh.
So we have questions in Q&A, not in chat.
Okay.
We adjust on the fly. What can I say? Here's a question for you.
Okay.
If a person has worked in a couple of disparate centers or offices at FDA, should we separate those as if they were different companies? So somebody worked in the drug center and the device center. Somebody worked in the office of the commissioner and the field organization. How do they capture that adequately?
Oh my God, they're going to hate my answer. You could do either way. Whatever's best for you. You could do it like this, where then you would have the job title, the department, and then you can say FDA. You can do it that way. Or if you want to do it this way, then it would all just be under, where am I here? Yeah, you would just have FDA. And then when you have the one sentence describing your career progression within the FDA, you can say, moved from this department to this department to this department to oversee this. Then you would have job title, department, years. So either way, for clarity, just this is probably a better option, just so they can see FDA, here are my years. But really, it's kind of a personal preference. If I were guiding you, I would say this is probably a better choice, but you're fine if you do it the other way as well. So I hope that was a helpful answer.
Okay, next question. FDA, I'll tell you, FDA is big on awards. So this
No.
person asks, is it important to list the awards you've received? And if you have more than one, how much can you discuss?
Great
What if they're
question.
relevant or not relevant to the job I'm applying to? Like, I want to show my awards.
They were paying attention, relevant. Okay, 2 different ways you can handle that. Oh my God, I just had this conversation with my CDC person an hour ago. She has a bunch of awards. What you want to do is you have an awards section around here with education. You can put it right above education and certifications, and you can say awards, and you list the awards. If you want to include the dates, you can. With that said, if you have a particularly relevant award, guess where you're going to put it? Right up here. So you can say winner of blah, blah, blah award for doing blah, blah, blah. So if it's particularly relevant to that role you're applying for, make sure you highlight it up here, but then you can list all the other ones down here, especially if they're relevant. That was a good question.
Okay. Here's a very specific question.
Okay.
I thought you noted that in one of the sections, it is not one column. Is that, oh, you need one column. Is that okay for ATS? One of these had more than one column. I remember
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one does. That was very astute. Whoever said that was very astute. Thank you. So glad you mentioned that. This is fine because these are all, if you were reading this left to right, this would be fine. Because it's all reading left to right, no breaks. Where you get into issues is if one of your bullet points goes to 2 lines. Then that's getting funky. Some people prefer this because it's nice and simple. They frankly don't have a lot of skills to shout out. So this is the easier way to do it. But with that said, the other way you can do it is you can list your skills like this. So if you have a ton of skills that are easily categorizable, I would say, ChatGPT is amazing with this, by the way. I've had some clients do great work and they're like, here's all the skills I need to do. Help me find 3 to 4 categories to put it in and put it in those categories. I personally prefer this way. So if you're worried about the tables and charts, just do it this way. But some of my clients who don't have a ton of skills to list, then this looks really light. So they go with the table.
Okay.
Very,
Next question has to do with timing.
Mhm,
He goes, I'm a little confused. You say
mhm,
you need to be one of the first to apply.
mhm,
Yet you also have to get your resume updated with relevant keywords from each announcement.
mhm.
Meaning, isn't that going to slow me down from applying?
Love this question. Thank you for that clarification. When you do the keywords exercise first and you write your resume based on those keywords, the goal then being is very little customization has to be done. I've had clients, it takes 5 minutes or less to do it. You're changing this spot, you're changing the second sentence, you're double checking any relevant skills are missing, you're including them here, and then that's it. You need to do that customization because an ATS might be comparing, we absolutely need this skill. Oh no, it's missing from your resume. So you need to do that last minute comparison to double check. Where people get hung up is they have their master resume and they're trying to completely write the resume from scratch for that job description and pull bullet points over and make that's where you get in the weeds and it can take you like an hour. But if you do the keywords exercise first and you have a different resume per job title, the goal being your operations resume is so operations heavy and operations lingo heavy that you don't have to customize much. That when you compare it to the job description, you've already hit most of the stuff. You're just doing a final pass. I've had clients plug their resume and the job description into ChatGPT and say, am I hitting it? What's missing? Whatever's missing, then they go and incorporate into their resume real quick before they apply. But the places where you want to incorporate it are this sentence. Maybe there's something you want to add to the career highlights section. Like I just said, my client who they really wanted someone who was an EMT and she was, so she included that there. And then the skills section. So ideally, it should only take you 5 minutes or so to do that kind of customization.
Okay. Well, quick question. What about cover letters?
Oh, love that question. Um, If they are required, write one. I have a really amazing cover letter resource that I'm happy to share with you guys. If they are not required, you don't have to write one. I'm team cover letters all day long. I love cover letters, but the recruiters and hiring managers I talk to say they frankly don't read them. If you're pivoting, love cover letters because it helps explain your background. But here's the deal with cover letters, you guys. It's not 6 long paragraphs all about you and your background. The cover letter template I have is I'm applying to this role. You're looking for someone who can do this. Here's how I've done it. Thank you for your consideration. That's it. It's bullet points, short paragraphs, short sentences, like half a page. The longer a cover letter is, the less likely someone's going to read it. So, short answer, if it's required, write it. If it's not required, you don't have to write it, but I still recommend it for people who are pivoting. I've had some clients get really sneaky and add the cover letter as like a set, like an additional page to their resume. So let's say their resume is 2 pages long. They attach it as the, because they're like, there's nowhere on the application to attach a cover letter, but I really wanted to write this cover letter because I love this company so much. Then they just attach it as the last page of their resume. I
Okay.
hope that answered the question. I hope that helped.
Thank you. We have 1 minute left.
Okay.
The question that I'll end on here is really a question directly to you, and it applies to a lot of people here too, is, are you available separately for one-on-one coaching?
Yes. You can go to my website. I have coaching packages that deal with the different steps of the process and what you're looking for. Um, This is my very high tech that I do with people when I meet. We do package number 1, package number 2, package number 3, and package number 4, which you'll see on my website. But I also do mini sessions. So I do roast my resume, roast my LinkedIn, and ask me anything sessions. So the one-on-one coaching is a ton of hand-holding, a ton of guidance. We've got a private client log. We're messaging back and forth in between regular sessions versus the mini sessions, which is I send you the information and go on your way. You guys kind of got a roast my resume session today. This is exactly what I would do in a roast my resume session. I would show you the keywords, I'd show you the resume template, we compare it to your resume, I give you the resources and send you on your way to go.
Right.
So the one-on-one coaching is a lot of hand holding, as I like to say, I like to hold your hand and kick your ass at the same time. A lot of guidance versus the one-on-one sessions is I'm going to give you the materials, give you best practices, and you're off and running. So I hope that answered that question.
And the various packages have different price tags to them,
Yep,
not the list, just
they
so
start.
people can look and see them.
Yep, they do. They start at $9.95, they go up to $26.95, but I also am happy to customize with people. So I've had some people, they go, I like, I like this package, but I need to focus, I need to do a little bit more career exploration. That's fine. We
Okay.
can customize it.
Yeah.
I recommend that you message me first before purchasing anything because I'm the first person to tell you you do not need this. I'm not going to push you into something you don't need. So I like when people can kind of explain what they're looking for and I guide them along that way. So send me a message. I also do discovery sessions. But if you go to emilywarden.com, you'll see that. Or remember, please email me for these resources. And you can also ask me these questions. It's Emily at emilywarden, WORDEN at gmail.com. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, no, Emily at emilywarden.com. Sorry about that.
Emily at emilywarden.com. You had your page up there. Can
Yeah,
you
we'll
sneak
go
that
back to
back
this.
up fast?
Oh, am I satisfied? I don't know. Let's see. It's, yeah, right here. There
Okay.
you go.
Emily, this has been fabulous. I really want to thank you. Want to thank all of our listeners. Um, and we hope this was valuable to you. I don't think we have a formal evaluation, but we do have a mailbox. I think it's mail at fdaaa.org. If you have any thoughts or comments, by all means, let us know. But again, thank you very much. And we hope this has been valuable for everybody on the call.
I hope so. And I know you guys were drinking from a fire hose today. I overwhelmed you with information, so do not hesitate to email me for anything clarifying. I'm happy to help. I just support you guys so deeply, and I really want you to land somewhere wonderful soon. So lean on me for questions.